Humans considered a virus by the universe. A creature called immunity descended on Earth to wipe out humanity. No one can defeat them except only the hunter with the title Advanced Evolution. Mangi was a young boy who dreamed of becoming an advanced evolution hunter. He took steps to apply to the Hunter Advanced Evolution School, and he passed the written test, and after that there was a superpower test. There were 5 levels of superpowers: Sacred Black, Red Royal, Purple Soul, Blue Spirit, and the lowest was White Dusk. The minimum requirement to enter the school was to obtain the power of Blue Spirit, and Mangi was ranked White Dusk, or you could say he got the lowest power, and he automatically failed the exam. He was laughed at by everyone, because with that power he was ranked as a useless trash. Especially before that he had declared love to Luo Quan, the most beautiful girl in his school who had the power of Purple Soul. So he was very embarrassed and felt useless. Mangi was so disappointed that he immediately ran away on his motorcycle, and he was very angry with himself. And while he was angry he looked up, and there was a comet flying over his head, and soon the comet fell on Mangi. However, it turned out that the comet contained extraordinary power, and part of the comet entered Mangi's body and gave him royal red-level superpowers. After the incident, Mangi entered a coma phase. After a few days, Luo Quan visited him, he gave flowers, and returned Ming his declaration of love with the letter. A month later his friends came to visit him. Mingi's friends were very sorry to see his condition, but there was one person who saw the letter from Luo Quan, and he did not accept that the girl had returned his declaration of love, so he tore up the letter, because he thought that Mangi was a failed superhuman. A year later, there was an attack by a horde of mutants, and the monster attacked the hospital where Mangi was staying. Everyone had left the hospital, but there was one nurse who remembered that there was still a patient in a coma. He thought, even though he can't wake up, doesn't mean I have to leave him there. The nurse immediately tried to save Mangi, but it turned out that there was a mutant following her, and the monster wanted to eat the nurse. But unexpectedly, Mangi regained consciousness and killed the monster with one blow. Mangi managed to save the nurse, and he immediately thanked her for coming to his rescue and worrying about him. Mangi asked how the mutant came to the hospital, and the nurse replied that it was because the sewers were polluted, and the cockroach evolved into a mutant cockroach. The nurse asked Mangi how he could defeat the mutant with one punch, and he was just an ordinary student. But what she didn't know was that Mangi had been practicing in his subconscious during his coma. Mangi and the nurse then rushed to the evacuation site. When in the hospital hallway, he was greeted by several cockroach mutants, but he quickly beat them all with his powerful fists. There was one mutant who came charging at the nurse, and Mangi saw a bottle of sulfuric acid, and he absorbed it and pulled out the technique he had practiced for so long. Then the nurse asked if his extraordinary fist was his main ability. Mangi replied that he was just a failed student. The nurse was surprised and said that his teacher had made the wrong decision by failing him. Not far from that, the refugee group from the hospital was attacked by a horde of mutant cockroaches, and they all panicked and asked for Hunter's help to come. Then there was a hunter who came to save them. He was Starlight, a top hunter. Then he beat all the mutants. But it was not realized that there were even bigger mutants beating a hunter. Then the scene returned to Mangi, who had managed to escape from the hospital. He saw that there was a bus group from the hospital in danger. Not far from Mangi there was a walkie-talkie, and someone from the walkie-talkie said that the magic Tuscus mutant appeared in Hunter Starlight was killed by the mutant. Mangi took the walkie-talkie and spoke to the person and asked to give all the information regarding this mutant rat. Then he said the mutant's weakness was fire, and the person asked, "Who are you? Are you a hunter?" Mangi replied that he was just a failed student. The man said, "Don't joke, the mutant rat is a great general. You shouldn't go and evacuate yourself immediately." But Mangi still went to the mutant rat and said that all this time the people who have been taking care of me in the hospital, I can't let them all die. Mangi saw her playing with her food, so he told her to stay here and never leave until he told her to. But the nurse told Mangi not to leave because she might get killed. Then Mangi said, "When there are patients in the hospital, you don't stand idly by if they are in trouble." And he said that before we try, how do we know what the result will be? He immediately beat the mouse with his fist, and he said that a cockroach that is as small as a thumb can be as big as a man, and this mouse can grow as big as a building. The fight was so fierce because the rat was famous for its agile movements, and with that size, if Mangi was hit by its scratches, it could break all the bones in his body. Then he tried to make the rat move away from the bus, and when the rat was caught off guard, Mangi hit it with one punch and made the rat faint. When Mangi tried to strike again, the mouse regained consciousness and tried to strike Mangi. But it turned out that the monster was just pretending to faint. Mingyi said that he wouldn't be able to beat it if his punching power was only that much. Then he saw gasoline splashing from a car, and lured the mouse to the area. Then Mingyi took a lighter and burned the gasoline, and made the mouse surrounded by flames, and made the mouse frightened by the fire, because the mouse's weakness was fire. Mingyi absorbed the flames and unleashed his flaming punch technique, and struck the mouse with one blow and killed it. Everyone was shocked and wondered if he was a top-level hunter. Then the sister explained that he was just a comatose disciple named Mingyi, a disciple who was not accepted by the Hunter Academy. A hunter named Liu Qian was heading to the magic rat mutants area, but he was stopped by someone from the command station and told that the mutant had been defeated. Liu Qian wanted to meet the person who defeated the mutant and wanted to thank him, but the person who gave the command to Liu Qian did not know who it was because the person was not on the hunter list, and there was no way he was just a student from the academy, and said maybe it was a powerful hunter who was suddenly there. And Liu Qian was given orders to find the source of the pollution because it was feared that there would be other mutants coming in the future. The only effort they could make was to evacuate everyone in the Nanqing area and seal off all areas affected by the pollution. After that, at the salvation station, Mingyi was being treated by the sister and thanked Mingyi for saving everyone. Then Mingyi's sister came to the safety station in a panic to find her brother there, but was stopped by the station guards and forbidden to enter the safety station. It wasn't long before Mingyi and his sister looked at each other, and they embraced each other emotionally, and he was very happy that Mingyi had finally woken up. Mingyi remembered everything his sister had done, and he felt very guilty and apologized to her, and thanked her for taking care of him all this time. Then the next day, Mingyi was in his house and he had just woken up, and he saw food and a letter from his brother who had gone to work, because Mingyi's hospital fees had not been fully paid. Mingyi felt bad for his brother because he was working in 3 different places, and he looked paler than Mingyi, who was a patient, and he was determined to help his brother by finding a job so that he could ease the burden on his brother, so that he didn't have to work so hard anymore. Suddenly, news came out that the government would give 50 million yuan to the person who had the clue about the polluted water source, and will give 3,000 yuan for each mutant cockroach, and 5 million yuan for mutant rat for those who catch them. He thought that with that much money he could help his brother and pay off all his hospital fees. He also wanted to return to the hospital to find information on the source of the pollution, while seeking combat experience by killing the monsters there. He went to the bounty hall and was asked by a woman if he had come to set up a bounty, or if he was a superhuman. Mingyi replied that he was a superhuman. The woman asked him what rank he was, but since Mingyi wasn't registered, he finally asked what rank he needed to kill the mutant cockroach to do that. He only needed to show the basics of his abilities, and if he wanted to know his rank, he would have to go through the examination process, and Mingyi agreed to go through the process. At the training hall he was asked what superpower he had, and he answered boxing. And he was given a test at a robot to find out how much power he had. Mingyi saw that the robot had 800 kg on it, and he thought that was the standard number to fulfill the test. Then Mingyi hit the robot with all his might and got 1000 kg. Then Mingyi felt very weak because he couldn't meet the standard, but everyone there was very surprised because he had broken the latest record. It turned out that Mingyi misunderstood because the 800 score was the highest score of an iron fist, and he was the first person who had broken the record. He went to the hall and he got a 1000 yuan gift card. It was a reward for breaking the record. If he broke another record, he would get another reward. Mingyi asked what ranks were in this hall. Then the woman explained that there were only 4 ranks that would be handled above that rank. This hall was not a place to visit. He had to look elsewhere. Then Mingyi thought that if he reached Heaven Flare rank, he could buy a villa and could buy a luxury car. But the point is that he must continue to focus on increasing his strength so that people are impressed with him. Mingyi came alone and was surprised because he didn't think many people would be interested in the reward. He was invited to join the Crimson Eagles team because if he came alone to a dangerous place, he might die and be eaten by monsters. Mingyi agreed to join and was asked for his rank, but he was rejected because he was just a beginner, and he was advised by the person to go home and train more, because it would be suicide if he came to the dangerous place. There were also 4 of Mingyi's friends who saw him, and there was a man who laughed at him because he had just been rejected by the group. Mingyi was called by his girlfriend. Mingyi approached them and said, "Long time no see, everyone." Then Mingyi was asked by his friend what he came here for, and he replied that he wanted to hunt mutant monsters and told him that he needed money to pay hospital fees. Su Zhang, the man who had laughed at him earlier, began to belittle Mingyi again, by saying that with such a weak physique, how can you hunt them down so that you don't become their dinner? Then Lin Yu, the girl who had called Minghe earlier, worried about Minghe because the place was too dangerous for him, who remembered that Minghe could not fight. Su Zheng mocked Minghe again and continued to belittle him for having such a useless ability. But Lin Yu defended Minghe and told Su Zheng to stop it, and asked them to respect Minghe because he was trying right now. As friends, we should help him. Lin Yu then invited Minghe to join his team and said that they would protect him. Minghe says that he will join them because the government forbids people to go out alone, and he says that his friends have not changed and still look down on him. But his friends have been with the Superhuman Institute for a year, and they must have gotten stronger, and in their eyes he is a failure, poor, and a cripple for a year. Minghe's other two friends agreed to take him along. Liu Xinghong, Minghe's male friend, agreed to take him along and said, let's just say Minghe's lucky ability will come in handy, and consider him a team mascot. And Wang Xiaodan, Minghe's girlfriend, agreed to take Minghe along and said, he's our classmate, so just take him along. Then Lin Yu was happy that they wanted to help Minghe. They went there together, and as they walked, Minghe chatted with Lin Yu and told her that they had been at the Superhuman Institute for a year, and were required to participate in at least one extracurricular activity. So therefore, they went to help with the pollution incident. Minghe asked, where is Luo Qing'an? Su Zheng replied, he's a famous person. Why would he help a low-ranking friend? Lin Yu also replied and said that Luo Qian was a very powerful person, so he helped the higher-ups to find the source of the pollution. Lin Yu asked Minghe if he knew the source of the pollution. Since Minghe is a smart person, he probably knows where the source is. But Su Zheng taunted him back by saying, why be smart if he can't fight? Why would someone like him bother with pollution? Minghe thought to himself and said, so far, there have been 3 monsters that have appeared, and they all come from the sewage system. The first is the mutant cockroach, the second is the mutant rat, and the third is the mutant maggot. The mutant cockroach was easy to deal with, the mutant rat was intimidating, and the mutant maggot he thought must be no stronger than the mutant cockroach, and must be easier to deal with. But suddenly the mutant maggots appeared and attacked them. All of them immediately ran away. Minghe thought that one maggot was very easy to deal with, but he forgot that maggots are group creatures. Minghe told them all to run. Su Zheng said what they were afraid of, but when he looked back, he finally ran towards the building. Then Minghe asked, where is Lin Yu? It turned out that she had fallen behind, and Minghe turned around and tried to save her. Lin Yu told him not to save her, but Minghe said that people who cared about him would not let him die. Minghe hit the fire hydrant and took out his technique and dispersed the group of mutant maggots. Then he managed to save her. Lin Yu also realized Minghe's strength was so strong, and she blushed because Minghe looked so handsome. But unfortunately, he already had Luo Qian, the girl he liked. But he was very grateful to her, and did not leave her like the other stupid friends. When they got to the building, his friends pretended to be worried about him for not helping him. Minghe said to take care of Lin Yu immediately because the mutant maggot's attack was corrosive. But Lin Yu said not to worry too much about herself because she would be fine, which Minghe was happy to hear. Minghe told them to take care of her, and he decided to check the building and prevent the maggots from getting in. Wang Xiaodan told them to check too, but they just scratched their heads because they were too scared to do so. Minghe went around and started checking the laboratory area. There were many animals and plants covered by thick glass, but as he was walking around, there was one place there that was broken and had insects in it that had escaped for half a year, and the case was under investigation. Minghe wondered what if these insects mutated. Minghe then left and said that as far as he had observed, mutants only came from the sewers. But what Minghe didn't know was that there was a piece of paper at the bottom that said that the insect was the world's largest predatory centipede with large fangs and long antennae. Minghe checked the back door and it was locked. All the doors and culverts were locked, so the whole place was safe. But Minghe unexpectedly saw Dr. Zhao, the doctor who treated him in the hospital. Minghe wondered why he was wandering around in the quarantine area. The doctor had gone to a slum building, but Minghe was worried because he wasn't a hunter. It was dangerous for him to wander around alone like that. Suddenly, Minghe was called by a stranger who asked him where he was and invited Minghe to have dinner together. He wanted to return the favor for saving him. It turned out that the person was Sister Song, a sister who had taken care of him. She explains that her last name is Song and her first name is Lan. She tells Minghe to call her Sister Song or Sister Lan. Minghe explained that he was in the quarantine area. Sister Song was shocked and spoke quite loudly and said, "Why are you there? There are more dangerous mutants than usual, It's really very scary." Then Mengyi replied that he was there to make money to pay the hospital bills and to help his brother. Sister Song replied, "You mean your brother Taiyu?" Then she asked, "Is he your biological brother?" Mengyi replied that they were not blood relatives. They grew up in an orphanage, but their relationship was closer than siblings themselves. Sister Song wished she had a sister like him, and he decided to meet her next time because he was working. Sister Song was disappointed that he had dressed up for her. Then Mengyi told her that he saw Dr. Zhao walking around there. Sister Song asked, "What is he there for?" He also told her that Dr. Zhao had been acting strangely for the past year. He also told her that Dr. Zhao used to be a diligent person, but lately he likes to be absent from the hospital and often rushes away from his work. He also often makes mistakes during the process of operating on patients. It seems that Dr. Zhao has a mental disorder because he looks like a person who never sleeps. Sister Song also told him that the main branch of the hospital used to send blood samples of mutated creatures to Dr. Zhao, but he suddenly said that he had lost the samples. Mengyi was shocked because the blood sample of the mutated creature could react to oxygen, and it took 1 year to incubate. Mengyi thought that maybe it was the source of the pollution that was happening. Mengyi asked when Dr. Zhao removed the sample. Sister Song replied that it was about a year ago, and Mengyi was still in a coma. Mengyi told Sister Song that perhaps the source of the current pollution was the blood sample, because the time it takes to incubate fits perfectly with the time trace that occurred, so they can mutate like now. Sister Song doubted that because Dr. Zhao himself said he had lost the sample, but Mengyi denied it because he thought Dr. Zhao had lied. Sister Song believed him and said that no wonder he's wandering around the quarantine area, because he's realized that he's the cause and is looking for the blood sample that he lost last time. Mengyi was worried about Dr. Zhao because he did it alone and he wasn't a hunter. The area also had mutated mutant beasts that were even more vicious. Sister Song said Dr. Song just wanted to take responsibility for all of this, but Mengyi said that this was no small thing and asked Sister Song to tell the government, so they could investigate. Mengyi tries to stop Dr. Zhao because he must not know how dangerous this area is. Sister Song will report this and say to be careful there. Mengyi says not to worry about it because he only wants to stop Dr. Zhao, not to go to the center of the pollution source. Mengyi returned to his friends, then he told them that they would be safe here and the mutant maggots would not be able to enter as long as the main door was sealed. Mengyi asked them to rest, and he said he would go out for a while and would be back soon. Lin Yuyu forbade him to leave, but Mengyi just left. Mengyi also looked at the previous mutant maggots and said that he didn't kill them all, but with this situation they won't be going anywhere for a while. Mengyi then hurried away and found the shortcut. Then Nevi was confronted by 3 mutant cockroaches, but he quickly defeated them and he immediately followed Dr. Zhao to the building. Mengyi entered the building and saw a hole at the bottom. He immediately went downstairs and wondered why Dr. Zhao came all the way here. Mengyi saw Dr. Zhao in the hallway and followed him. Then he immediately caught Dr. Zhao and asked what he was doing here. Dr. Zhao was very surprised. Then Mengyi asked if it was true that a year ago he purified the blood of the calamity beast. He was shocked and asked how he knew that. Mengyi yelled at Dr. Zhao to answer that. Dr. Zhao admitted that he made a mistake and he didn't want to cover it up. He didn't do it on purpose, he just wanted to save people's lives. He didn't know that it caused mutated organisms, and he just wanted to check the water supply here because the missing blood was around. Then Dr. Zhao shouted loudly that he just wanted to correct his mistake. Mengyi replied that he was not a hunter. Why didn't he just report it, so that the higher-ups would handle it? Dr. Zhao shouted to Mengyi that he was and you are a strong man. He also asked Mengyi for help to deal with the source of pollution together and end this disaster, because if he reported to the government he would lose his job, and he would be in prison, then his children and wife would have no one to take care of. He pleaded with Mengyi, and Mengyi tried to calm Dr. Zhao down and said that there was a limit to both of our abilities. Doing this would be like looking for death, and the mutation would continue to spread. Dr. Zhao kept pleading, but he finally realized that we have limits. Mengyi asked Dr. Zhao to leave and report it to the authorities. Dr. Zhao let out an evil smile and said, "Report to the authorities? Have you told anyone about this yet?" Mengyi replied that he hadn't told anyone because it was better if he explained it to the authorities. Mengyi asked, "Is it true that this place is a source of pollution, and you lost blood samples around here?" Dr. Zhao replied that this was the case. He got up and said that the blood samples weren't actually missing. Then he mocked Mengyi and said that he was just an ordinary student, so there was no way he could understand this. Mengyi suspected that there was something strange about Dr. Zhao, but he couldn't just leave him because he was curious what strange things he was doing. So he asked Dr. Zhao, "What do you mean by that?" Dr. Zhao asked Mengyi, "Have you seen the mutant cockroaches, mice, and maggots? They produce bacteria and spread diseases to humans. Does that cause humans to go extinct?" Mengyi replied, "That's right." Dr. Zhao continued, "Humans also plunder, create waste and chemical pollution. Humans don't realize that these actions will destroy the Earth, and they even send waste into space. How are we different from these mutants?" Mengyi refuted Dr. Zhao's words. Not all humans do that, and some protect the Earth's environment together. Dr. Zhao argued back, "Do you know the universe? The creation of life is nonsense and humans shouldn't be born. The universe alone is beautiful and peaceful enough without life. When life is created, they are no different from bacteria, and the equivalent of cancer cells, they multiply and destroy healthy cells. In every generation, humans never stop destroying the world. They want to control everything. Where there are humans, there can be no peaceful life. How are humans different from uncontrollable cancer cells?" Mengyi said that what he was saying was the same as being anti-human, and he didn't understand what Dr. Zhao was saying. He explained again to Mengyi that if he was sick, the immune system would automatically erase the disease, right? It's the same with the universe. If humans are a virus, then the universe creates something to kill us, and that is a hunter. They are the universe's immune system, and to wipe out humanity. Mengyi felt strange about what Dr. Zhao had said because it was off topic. Mengyi thought that Dr. Zhao had gone crazy. Mengyi says that what we're talking about is the pollution that has caused the mutated organisms that he has caused and has claimed many victims. Then Dr. Zhu goes crazy and he says that he is a doctor and he should treat people who are sick, including this universe that has been corrupted by humans. Cockroaches, rats, and maggots are not too different from humans. Dr. Zhu finally admitted that he had created the source of mutation, starting from simple experiments and starting to kill citizens in Lanyang City and in the capital region. He went mad and remained ambitious to wipe out humanity because the Earth was sick. He said that before killing anyone else he would start exterminating Mengyi, and he was grateful that Mengyi had become stupid and naive. After he killed Mengyi, he would pollute the whole world. Mengyi replies that it's impossible because this whole area has been isolated and therefore Dr. Zhou's plan won't be carried out. But Dr. Zhao said that they could only block the surface and underground, but they couldn't block the flow of the water supply. All the water in the city was in this place. Through the water pipes, people would use it for daily use, and the used water would flow into the culverts, after which the cockroaches, rats, and maggots would absorb the mutations and begin to evolve. Mengyi was shocked that Dr. Zhou's plan was so evil, but since Dr. Zhao wasn't a hunter, Mengyi wasn't too worried and he planned to leave immediately. Mengyi told Dr. Zhao that he didn't understand what he was saying. Mengyi planned to go out and invited Dr. Zhao to continue with his plan. Dr. Zhao was surprised why he didn't stop him and wondered why Mengyi saved them all instead of being a hero. Mengyi replies that he doesn't deserve to be considered a hero. He's a selfish person. Dr. Zhu was relieved and wanted to continue his plan by spilling blood samples into the water tank. But when he planned to take a monster blood sample, it turned out that his pocket bag was empty. Dr. Zhao was very surprised, and he remembered what happened. It turned out that Mengyi had secretly taken it. Dr. Zhao was so angry that he went berserk, and then he turned into a monster. He shouted to Mengyi to return the blood sample. It was true that what was in Dr. Zhu's pocket was an important item. Mengyi also looked back, and he wondered when he saw Dr. Zhu's form, is that his hunter ability? Apparently not. It was the result of an experiment he did on himself, and he mutated just like other mutants. Dr. Zhao threw a monster created from his body to chase Mengyi. But when Mengyi grabbed the ladder to escape upstairs, the monster cut off the ladder so Mengyi failed to escape. He used another way to get upstairs by using the monster as his foothold, and when he made it upstairs he saw the wet cement, and he used the solidification technique to seal the hole, and the monster failed to chase him. Dr. Zhou did not give up and would not let Mengyi escape with the blood. Mengyi rushed to escape quickly, and he also thought that the strength of monsters could be measured before they mutated, starting from the weakest maggot, beginner level, then cockroach, novice level, and rat, general level. As far as Mengyi was concerned, rat monsters were the hardest to deal with. So if adult humans mutated, he was worried that he wouldn't be able to face Dr. Zhao. Mengyi was planning to escape to his friend's place, but he thought that if he went there, they would all die, so he decided to bide his time a little longer while waiting for the authorities to come here. Elsewhere on the west side of the slums, there was a hunter group that rejected Mengyi before, They were Moonblow-ranked hunters. They were hunting in the area and were chatting about their conditions. But suddenly, there was an explosion from the direction of the underground channel, and one of their members was blown up, and then saved by his friend, but unexpectedly from there appeared Dr. Joe. They underestimated Dr. Joe and planned to kill him, because if they killed him it would make a lot of money. They'd also said that the monster was very unlucky, because it would face 5 Moonglow-ranked hunters. But Dr. Zhao started the fight and planned to annihilate them all. One person was successfully killed by Dr. Zhou by grabbing him and stabbing his chest. His friend was very emotional and tried to save his friend, but with one slash the girl just fell down. The other hunter was very shaky, seeing 2 of his friends had fallen in the hands of the monster. Then Dr. Zhou's troops appeared from underground, and Dr. Zhou spoke that he was in a hurry, otherwise he would enjoy slaughtering them. Then Dr. Zhao continued his pursuit of Mingyi. Dr. Zhao continued on towards Mingyi, and the remaining hunter group was terrified, because the monster must be at Lord level, and they felt lucky to have survived the monster. Mingyi felt that he was far away from Dr. Zhao, but Dr. Zhao's troops could still find Mingyi through his scent by tracking his scent. He was grateful that Dr. Zhao didn't have the speed of the monster that was chasing him, and the object that Mingyi was carrying must not fall into Dr. Zhao's hands. Mingyi saw a gas station in the distance and rushed to the place, and he washed himself with gasoline to remove the scent from his body. Then he entered the gas station, and he saw the monster confused looking for him, and it was what Mingyi expected. But there was one monster that entered the gas station and Mingyi hid. And suddenly the monster saw him, and he was attacked by the monster, but Mingyi managed to avoid. Mingyi also said that he saw the other 3 monsters going in other directions, and only the monster with a high sense of smell could find him. Mingyi decided to fight the monster, because the monster was alone, and it was useless if he kept running. If he didn't immediately kill this lymphoma beast monster, the monster would still find him because it had a high sense of smell. Mingyi had to find a certain medium in order to create a mystic punch skill with the same attributes. Acid punch could be activated by touching acid, blazing punch activated by touching fire, and explosive wave punch activated by touching water. But the place he came to didn't have an effective medium, and if he got out of there, it would be very risky to be discovered by the other monsters. The monster attacked Mingyi, and he could only fight back with his body. A fierce fight ensued, and Mingyi was knocked down, and Mingyi hit the monster's chin and bounced up. Mingyi continued with consecutive punches, and ended with a hard punch until his punch left a hole in the wall, and the monster's head was destroyed. Mingyi managed to kill the monster. Meanwhile, Dr. Zhao was affected by his dead monster and was in pain. Dr. Zhao approached the gas station and saw that his monster was dead. He ordered his troops to eat the dead monster and planned to make his troops evolve so that they could face Mingyi. The monster managed to evolve so that the monster's smell became stronger, and Dr. Zhao ordered to continue his pursuit of Mingyi and ordered to take him alive. While running, Mingyi wondered, it wasn't like he had killed the most sensitive monsters, but why were they still able to chase him, and strangely why the monster's screams were much more terrifying than before. While running Ming, he suddenly saw a playground, and it was a good place because it had a complicated area, so that if he was chased by the monsters, Mingyi could use the surrounding buildings. He thought that if this place had a good element, he could extract it and increase his strength. So he washed the gasoline off his body, because if he saw the fire element, before he could absorb the element, he would have been burned before he could use it. Mingyi thought that it was useless to keep running, because the monsters would find him, but that didn't mean he had to stop moving. He had to keep moving while looking for opportunities to attack and kill the monsters, so that Dr. Zhao couldn't find him again. But suddenly the monster appeared and attacked him. Mingyi was surprised why the monster had become so big, and his strength had also become much stronger. The monster returned to attack Mingyi, even though the monster had changed, but the attack speed had become slower, so he could avoid the attack. He challenged the monster to come forward. But 2 more monsters appeared there. Then Mingyi ran towards the roller coaster track, because the track was narrow. Mingyi could deal with them one by one and could kill them with one blow. He absorbed the metal element, and when the monster came to attack, Mingyi immediately beat the monster and made one of the monster's hands destroyed, and he attacked again with his fist and managed to punch a hole in the monster's chest, and the monster died. Mingyi was surprised by his new strength and felt that he could defeat the monsters easily. Then 2 other monsters came towards Mingyi. One of the monsters crawled through the bottom, and the monster on top immediately attacked him. But Mingyi beat the monster, but he was surprised because the monster had bone armor. Then the monster on the bottom appeared, and Manga was surprised, since when did this monster become fast? Manga wondered why such an evolution monster could move so fast. The monster also tried to bite Manga's leg, but he managed to dodge and step on the monster's neck. But the monster had spiked bones around its neck. He also wondered why the monster had such a structure. He was surrounded by the monster from two directions. A fierce battle ensued. The monster attacked him simultaneously. Manga managed to parry the attack of the monster behind him, but the other monster managed to give him a wound in his chest. He was cornered by the attacks of the two monsters. Then he tried to focus on one monster and beat him quickly. But the monster had bone armor around his hands, so his attacks didn't have much impact. Then suddenly from behind the monster a roller coaster appeared at a fast speed and managed to hit the monster, and Manga avoided the roller coaster through the sidelines and hung there. It turned out that Manga had previously planned this and made the roller coaster active. Because Manga was hanging quite high, it would be dangerous if he fell from there because it could break one of his legs. He also saw the last monster hanging in front of him. The monster attacked Manga quickly, but Manga avoided the attack and held both hands of the monster and planned to make them both fall together. He spoke to the monster, "Whoever of us falls, it will make us die. But if we die with you, it will be a bad memory, right?" But it would have been a different story if the monster had been used as a fulcrum when it fell. Then the monster cried out in fear and slammed down hard. Then Manga won the battle. It was already night. Manga washed his hands while talking to Sister Song on the phone. Sister Song wondered why he didn't answer his phone. He replied that he put his cell phone away and turned it off. Sister Song told Manga that the location he was told had been investigated by the officers. There they'd found several mutated monsters, and they had destroyed the monsters, but they didn't see him and Dr. Zhao. Manga told him that he was at the amusement park, and he told him about Dr. Zhao's plan, and Manga wondered why he did something crazy like this. He told her that he managed to steal the blood sample that was the source of the pollution. He explained that this serum could restore the polluted southern city to normal by extracting the pure particles in the serum. Sister Song told Manga to stay where he was so that the officers would come to him. But Manga refused and told the officers to stay in the building, because Dr. Zhao kept chasing him, so he couldn't stay in this place for too long. Manga also told that Dr. Zhao also mutated and told Sister Song to call the experts. Otherwise, all the weak people would be killed by Dr. Zhao. Then when Manga was running from a distance, there was someone. It turned out to be Dr. Zhao. Dr. Zhao also greeted Manga. Then Manga was surprised, and he stopped his steps. Dr. Zhao asked Manga, "Don't you see the people above me?" It turned out that there were Manga's friends. Dr. Zhao said that he met them on the way. He really wanted to kill them, but because they knew him, so he held them above. His friends also asked Manga to be saved. There were also those who begged not to be killed, because Dr. Zhao was only targeting Ming. Why innocent people like them should be held hostage. But the girl named Lin Yuyu told Manga to just run away. Because Manga definitely couldn't face the monster because Dr. Zhao was ranked as a master-level monster. Manga was conflicted because he wanted to save his friends, but he also couldn't defeat Dr. Zhao's mutated form. Manga didn't care about the other three bastards, but he couldn't leave Lin Yuyu alone, so he planned to buy some time while waiting for the officials to arrive, so that they could all be saved. Manga read her mind and said, "Why? Is there anyone among the 4 students you want to save? Is it your girlfriend? Let me guess which one, but you don't need to guess. It must be the person who told you to run away." Then Lin Yuyu blushingly replied that they were just friends helping each other. Then Dr. Zhao asked Manga, "If it's a friend, is it worth sacrificing your life to save him?" Then Manga said that a monster wouldn't understand that. Dr. Zhao said that he'd just call himself a monster. Manga mocked Dr. Zhao because all the rubbish he had said earlier was funny to him. If Dr. Zhao thought that humans were germs, cancer cells that invaded the main body and became a disease, he thought that it was because there were humans that the dead universe had vitality because there was life in it, and vitality was an evolved part of the body. Dr. Zhao went crazy with his thoughts again, saying evolved body. Among us humans, there are also super-evolved hunters born, and not a few of them are strong. Hence it's a disease with resistance. He also hated to admit that those who were strong were a disease that was difficult to kill. They even had the power to mutate and grow stronger. Manga was confused by what Dr. Zhao had said. Manga said that we have different views, and the differences cannot be united, so we make an easier solution. Whoever is stronger is right. I'm a human and a super-evolution hunter, and in a mocking tone, Manga asked Dr. Zhao, "What power do you have?" Dr. Zhou emotionally replied that he had a cosmic power that eliminated humans. Mengyi made a bet that whoever won could have the blood sample, but Dr. Zhou belittled him and said that he was overconfident. Then, Mengyi loudly said that if he couldn't even beat him who was a failed student, then he should stop brainwashing him with such ridiculous beliefs, because in the end you're just a crazy and weird scum among humans. Dr. Zhou didn't care about any of that. If he didn't hand over the blood sample, then he would kill the 4 students. Mengyi invited Dr. Zhou to kill them. Since they were super evolutionary students, they were ready to lose their lives to protect this country. Then Dr. Zhou said that he would kill them all. He took a spiked bone from his body and threw it at one of Mengyi's friends. Mengyi turned around and ran back. Dr. Zhou threatened that he would kill his beautiful girl, but his attack missed. Mengyi set his heart and continued to run back. Dr. Zhou threatened Mengyi if he continued to run, he would make holes all over their bodies. His friends shouted for Mengyi to help him, but he kept running. Dr. Zhou also felt that all this would be useless if Mengyi managed to escape, because if he had to chase him back, it would make it difficult for him to return. Then Dr. Zhou threw his sharp thorns in front of Mengyi and said, "Come back. I agreed to the conditions given by him." Mengyi stopped running, but Dr. Zhou made an arena using his sharp bone thorns because it would be useless even if they fought, but Mengyi only ran and circled. If Mengyi went out of the arena boundary, he would kill one of his friends, and Mengyi agreed. Dr. Zhou also said that if he defeated him, he could save his friends and become a hero who saved the entire population of Lanyang City. But unfortunately, he was too weak for him. And from what Dr. Zhou heard, he was just a failed student and tried to commit suicide because he couldn't accept the fact and he happened to be the one who operated on him. While fighting, Dr. Zhou said, "You're just a failed human being. No one even hopes for you. Your friends just laugh at you because of your own stupidity. No one cares about you except the teacher who told a student to send flowers to you. After that, for a year, very rarely people visit you. Your life is really sad. And now you're acting like a hero." Lin Yuyu tearfully told Mengyi to just run. Then Dr. Zhou launched his attack and managed to injure Mengyi. His blood was pouring out. Lin Yuyu, who couldn't bear to see Meng, he continued to cry while telling Mengyi to just leave. Dr. Zhou also shouted to Mengyi why he kept getting back up. "You should have died on the operating table a year ago. Even though you are awake now, you still can't change anything." Mengyi was at the end of the arena. Dr. Zhou said that he was just a useless insect. Dr. Zhou launched an attack to kill him. But he threw the blood in his lucana into Dr. Zhou's eyes so that he could move away from the end of the arena. And he counterattacked Dr. Zhou, saying that he was the one who lived a miserable and pathetic life. He managed to throw his fist and said that the strongest medium of his punch was his own blood. Dr. Zhou was thrown and his body was stuck with thorns in the arena. His friend shouted at Mengyi that he was great and told him to kill the monster immediately. But the bastard with a thorn in his thigh told Mengyi to save himself first because he would die if he bled out. But the long-haired girl named Wang Xiaodan said that Mengyi was more injured than her and said that the 2 bastard men were cowards. Lin Yuyu tearfully told Mengyi to treat his wound first because the bleeding was very severe. But it turned out that Dr. Zhou was not dead, yet he pulled out the thorns that were stuck and said that they were all very noisy. "After this, I would tear you all apart." Dr. Zhou, while getting back up, and said it turns out that your strength is a punch. Mengyi also beat Dr. Zhou back, but his attacks did not work on him. Dr. Zhou also remembered when he defeated the giant rat with his flame punch. Then Mengyi returned to beat Dr. Zhou again, but his attacks did not work on him. Mengyi then beat Dr. Zhou again with his fists, and with his last punch he managed to push Dr. Zhou. Dr. Zhou then said that Mengyi's power was to absorb various mediums and release their effects with his fists. But with all the punches that had been launched by him had no effect on Dr. Zhou because he could recover himself.